Welcome back to New Wave Hockey. I'm your host, Link Dansevich, and it's been a little bit of a minute since I've been back and posting, but right now, we're back. I am in a new city right now. I am studying abroad in Copenhagen, which is just across the channel from Malmo, Sweden. So I will be going over to Sweden to watch a couple of games while I'm here, but I'm just enjoying studying abroad, and I've really been missing bringing back videos because, again, getting me back into this swing is really awesome, and I'm excited to be pumping out more videos, hopefully weekly from now on. Hey, look at the room. You see my entire room. It's unreal. And of course, I only brought one jersey here to Copenhagen, and you guys are gonna just have to deal with it. Radim Mrtka, we'll see. I might be collecting some SHL jerseys. But today, let's get down to business and talk about my new prospect of the week, Radim Mrtka. It's been an excellent season for him so far. He has been playing great on two different teams. He has had quite the journey this year, so let's talk about it just a little bit. He started the year in Ostrolari Trinec, and he was in the top Czech league, and people were really raving about his talent, but how many prospects in your memory have been drafted top 10 that were from the Czech league? Probably David Jiricek comes to mind, and that's about it. He made the conscious decision to come on over to the WHL, to the Seattle Thunderbirds, who had drafted him in last year's CHL import draft. And you know what? He's been playing excellent ever since. He's nearly a point per game since coming over, and that's excellent work for a 6'6", 200-pound right shot defenseman who many are looking at as a defensive defenseman, but he is so much more than that. So now let's break down his game. Let's get into the 5 traits that I look for. And as you all remember, skating, shooting, passing, puck control, and compete in defensive ability. Let's go through skating first. Skating is really a core part of a defenseman's game, and I would say that Radim Mrtka is a really good skater for his size. He's not necessarily a great skater, but he moves around really well for his size, all right? Obviously, the reach is there. It's better. He defends the rush really well. Even if a guy ends up going behind him, he doesn't get burned because of that reach, and he's able to move extremely well. He does have trouble accelerating from a standstill position, but he gets going in transition. When he picks up speed, and he is hard to stop. I do really like his edge work. I really like his ability to quickly stop and start and change directions. He's been able to do that really well. Again, I want to see more grace, but again, how much grace can you have as 6'6" as a defenseman? He is very close to unlocking a very dangerous defensive component in his game. He just needs to get that better skating. His skating ability has been improving as he's come over to the WHL, but that's going to be something that people will be watching as they rate him highly as a prospect. In terms of shooting, Mrtka gets a pretty decent amount of power from his 6'6" frame, but again, my big criticism for him is his shot selection. I'm going to be very critical of his shot in this section because he has all the tools to become a really good defenseman from the point. And imagine Victor Hedman. What makes him so great? He has all the tools and is a big, powerful defenseman. Radim Mrtka can become a Victor Hedman-like defenseman if he can change up his shooting. When he shoots and he activates in the zone, he is always aiming high, and that is a problem because more often than not, he's going to be missing those shots. Typically, what he should be doing is he should be aiming low on pad from the distances that he's shooting at. But sometimes he moves up into the offensive zone and he activates, which is very rare for a defensive defenseman. It's something that I've really loved watching him do. Though, again, the shooting needs to improve. He is getting more confident with his stick, and it's really fun to watch him take increasingly more risky shots from the point, and maybe some of them will be going in soon. It's been really interesting to see how his confidence has evolved because he has become a more confident player with the puck, and that's something that we're going to talk about more in our next category, stick handling. His stick control is pretty high, a lot better than you would expect for a 6'6" defenseman. He can weave through defensemen on transition, and he is very successful in making these stick handles. More often than not, he is a really tight stick handler, and he makes it work, and he can deke through some people. It's honestly very impressive. His stick handling has played a large role in why his transition and playmaking game have had so much success in the WHL. He can fend off pressure with his body and his stick. Mrtka's options just increase when he uses his stick handling. He's just greatly expanded his game, and his ability to stick handle his way out of pressure is really solid. It's far from perfect, and it's not as good as like other tight defensemen who are more offensively inclined, but for a defensive defenseman and a transition defenseman, it's good enough, and it's something that I can see improving in the near future to a point where it can be on an NHL team. I really like his stick handling. In terms of his passing vision and his IQ, I have been both surprised and disappointed with Radim Mrtka in terms of this passing game. He needs to be way more consistent because in the offensive zone, both the analytics and the eye test back up him having a really great rating as a passer from the point. He has an 85% passing percentage in the offensive zone, and he's relied upon really heavily for those power play and even penalty kill minutes. He's on the top power play, he's on the top penalty kill, he's on the top pairing at the WHL. He's playing 28 to 30 minutes a night. He has shown the ability to become a really great distributor and use that ability really well. He's been getting a ton of assists, and it's the main reason why he's been scoring so many points in the WHL this year. When you add that to his transition game, you get a defender who is really solid in neutral zone ice. He is one of the best neutral zone defenders in the WHL, and he's really great at flipping the ice. Even over the last few games, the strength of his transition game has grown tremendously, and I will be watching with interest to see how he does for this area. Another great part of his area is retrievals. One thing that I've noticed is that Radim Mrtka is one of the first guys on loose pucks when they go to the boards. He's really good at retrievals. He's really good at flipping the ice, making things happen from the defensive zone and making the transitions occur. That's a very strong trait in defenseman that a lot of teams will be looking for. All of this leads me to conclude that his IQ with the puck is pretty high, though I will say I do want to see these plays with more consistency. He can be a great retrieval defenseman. He can be a great passing defenseman. He just got to show it off more consistently in the defensive and the neutral zones. He's a good transition defenseman, but he's better when he's doing it by himself. Similarly, he has really high IQ when he doesn't have the puck. His off-puck ability is very solid. He is always moving in the defensive zone. He's looking for new lanes to get open, and when he doesn't have the puck in transition, he supports the rush. He is a big, imposing presence, and he brings people with him, and honestly, like, that value can't be overstated. Even though it won't show up on his score sheet, it cannot be overstated. He brings people with him because he is a threat, and it's, again, it's something that I notice every time that he's out on the ice. Moving on to compete and defensive ability, Radim Mrtka is a hard worker, but I would not say he's one of the most high compete guys that I've seen this year. He's playing 28 to 30 minutes per night recently. He's been absolutely working his tail off in the WHL, and they've put him in the top of every single position that he could be in right now. So they're relying on him heavily. And when he's on the ice, sometimes it looks like he's pacing himself, which I'm not going to give him a con for, but I would normally want someone who's giving it his all and doesn't look like he's taking like a little bit home with him. He turns it on in some moments, but sometimes he saves his energy for another shift. Again, that's something that's kind of going through my mind. I believe there's just a bit more grit and sandpaper that he can add to his game. I would love to see him use the body more. If I could just see what would happen if he were to apply himself physically a little bit more, it would be amazing. In terms of his defensive ability, he was relied upon more as a defensive defenseman in Czechia. Oshulari Trinic had him in hard defensive minutes. He was stay at home. He was not given a lot of leeway in terms of carrying the puck in transition game. In the WHL, they're relying upon him to transition the puck, do a lot of things with the puck. He is becoming way more confident. He is becoming way more of an offensively minded defenseman. Though, it's come at the cost of his defense. His defense has not been as tight. He looks a little lost when he's at a standstill in the defensive zone, and he kind of needs to find a little bit of better defensive awareness, I would say, in the defensive zone, but on the rush, in neutral zone ice, and in terms of keeping the puck in the offensive zone, he's excellent. He does everything really, really well. Like I said before with the rushes, he rarely gets burned because of his reach. He's able to stick check very, very well. He's going to get drafted for his defensive ability, and with Seattle relying on him for hard minutes in the defensive zone, I want to see him get a little bit better, but otherwise, pretty solid compete. In conclusion, in the WHL, there are 3 defensemen who are athletic freaks. I've already talked about one of them with Jackson Smith. I'll talk about Blake Fiddler some other time, but Radim Mrtka is an incredible defenseman. He's made me rethink my defensive rankings recently. He's been absolutely tremendous. He's a prospect that I can see such a high ceiling for. I really like the 1D potential with him, a little bit more than Jackson Smith at this point. We will see. He's putting up quite a body of work since coming over to the WHL. He's been really working his tail off. He's been playing a lot of minutes. So we'll see what that does for Radim Mrtka, but I think he's an absolutely fantastic defenseman, and he's going to be in the top 10 of a lot of people's lists very soon, maybe even mine. But that's it for me. I just wanted to get back here and record a video and finally get back to making videos and making prospect stuff for you guys. I need to be more active now that I'm here and I have a lot more free time. I'll be also be doing some, maybe not vlogs, but I'll be recounting my trips if I go and see certain prospects in Sweden, maybe in Germany, maybe in the Czech Republic or in Slovakia. I'm going to be all over the place, but I'm really excited for you guys to join me on this next part of my journey. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I'm your host, LinkedIn Savage, signing off.